Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Seven Show. The Seven Show? That's how it goes. I was just in here doing another video, and I wanted to try something. And I made an attempt at doing this before, but I didn't get any interesting results. So let's try it again and see what happens. I apologize for the lighting and everything. This is just sort of a temporary setup, and I'll bring things in a little bit closer, and you'll have better video here in a second. But what am I doing? So these are isolation pads that are designed to sit underneath the monitor. And the idea is that they decouple the monitor from whatever they're sitting on, and they give you a pure frequency range. Because if the monitor is sitting on a shelf, theoretically the shelf will produce particular sounds when vibrated. That's the idea anyway. So they worked as your shelves or your speaker stands or whatever act as a sort of resonating device. So I had originally tried to measure this to see if these actually work in a previous setup where I had the monitors sitting up on what they sit on, and then I shot the frequency response with a reference mic, then I put these underneath it and I shot it again. Everything was identical, and I saw no remarkable change in having these or not having these. So I've been wanting to test this for a while and see. Now I'm sure in some situations they'll make a difference, but if you've got really good solid speaker stands, and they should have a lot of mass, they should not move, they should be really nice solid things, these probably won't make a difference. And when you think about it, studios have operated since the beginning of studios. They didn't have these. These are a fairly new kind of thing. So I'm kind of wondering, are these snake oil or not? Do they actually do anything? So I thought to test this, since I didn't get any results in my basic setup, let's set up an environment that is designed to work. So what I have here, I'll just put these over there. This is a piece of styrofoam. Styrofoam is very, I don't want to say it acts as an amplifier. It works as a really good sounding surface. So putting a speaker on top of styrofoam is a really bad idea. This is a big cardboard box that my new generator came in. I've cut a hole in the top. I've cut a hole down at the bottom to port it, because I figure if anything, this will work as a sounding board or sounding device as well. So we put this thing on here, and we get a nice good thud out of it. So if my speakers are going to ring that thud, putting the isolation pad underneath it, and if they work, it should stop that thud. So let's try it. But let me demonstrate this, because this is actually really interesting. Right, so this is sort of a fun little test. This is a little GoPro camera, a little decibel meter. These are headphones currently playing music. I've torn the little speakers out of them. So if we look at the decibel meter, my old trusty Radio Shack, and we just hold this right here. So it's set at 60. So this is about 58 decibels. Even lower there, so it's like 56. So you can see that our little sounding board is amplifying this little tiny speaker. You probably heard it even better on my little lav mic. Okay, so with that in mind, let's throw that on the floor, and we'll do a we'll do a sweep of 20 to 20,000 hertz on the Kali speaker sitting on top of this contraption, and we'll see what we get. And then we'll put some isolation pads and maybe a blanket or something underneath it. We'll do a couple other tests and see what the differences are. Then we'll go over and look at the graphs. Okay, speaker is about 3 feet from the microphone. It's lined up about to here between the tweeter and the mid. And then I've got, the microphone is picking up right around 86 decibels. I think that's right. It doesn't matter. So we'll do a sweep on this and let's see if we get any like major boosts in the lower end, which is what this is gonna do for us. Squeak, squeak. All right. For fun, let's do 2 of them. I'm going to measure this now, same mic distance away, but I'm going to put it on this kind of hefty metal stool that I have. I'll put the blanket on top of it, so it'll be nice and rigid. We shouldn't get any sort of soundboard type activity off of that setup. And we'll shoot it. We'll see what that sounds like, and then we'll go look at the graphs and see if the foam has done anything at all. Great, let's look at the graphs. Okay, I got the 5 graphs on the screen, so let's go through them and see if they tell us anything. So this first one is going to be the Cali on the stool. I'm going to guess that that's probably going to be a little bit more representative of what the speaker sounds like without building a box for it to reverberate on. So let's see what it looks like with the monitor on the box and the foam together. This is interesting that it drops. What is this? Let's do this. Let's zoom in. So each space is a decibel. So around 100 hertz, it actually drops 2 decibels being on the box and the foam. But we do have some bit of an amplification here on 160, 195. So it definitely changes the characteristics. We have this huge bump here at, what's that, 472? Goes up 1, 2, 3, almost 4 decibels there. Let's calm this down a little bit so we can look at it a little bit better. So each one of these blocks now is 5 decibels. So it does change the characteristics. So let's take away the Cali on a stool, and we'll do Cali on a box and foam and Cali on the box and foam with the isolator pad between them. And this is sort of what I was seeing when I was trying the test before. Is this is a little bit more, I'm seeing a little bit more of a difference, but when I was testing it on where my speakers normally stand, I wasn't getting really much of a change at all. And on this, I'm not really seeing that significant amount of change. It's not really decoupling it as one would expect it to, as you would think that that the foam would treat it more like it's sitting off of the shelf or whatever it's sitting on. But it's really not changing the sound that much. Let's look at it with 2 pieces of the isolation foam in between the speaker and what it's sitting on. So again, we have a little bit of more of a change exactly at this one, 472. We have, that's what, let's zoom this in again and see what we've got. Oops. So each one of these squares is now a decibel. So there's a 2 decibel change here, and it's decreasing that sound by 2 decibels. On this one, it's decreasing it by almost a decibel in that frequency at 472 hertz, but in the big picture, it really isn't changing it all that much. So what happens if we just put a blanket between it? So this is interesting to me. Let's zoom back out. It actually is a bit louder. I'm not really sure why that happened. If you're a acoustician, leave a note in the comment. It's just a standard moving blanket. It's about 1, 2, 3. It was 4. It's folded, so it would have been about 4 layers of this moving blanket. Is it that it might be that it's far enough away from the foam, transparent enough that the sound that's reverberating off of the cabinet of the monitor is being able to echo through it and vibrate the styrofoam a little bit? Maybe? I don't know. I'm interested. It's a question that I don't have an answer to, but it's an interesting result. So this would be the difference between the Kali on the stool and just sitting on our box of noise. So 2 very different waveforms. So it's it's an interesting experiment, but just on a single piece, and especially if some of them are even thinner, like a 1/2 inch, I don't think it's doing very much. I really don't. Now there might be some case uses where it would be good, and I actually think I have one. So let's test that. Okay, here I am. Hello. I'm way down here. I'm probably out of focus. Doesn't matter. Okay, the Kalis are both set up exactly how they were previously. Now, the situation I was running into is I was working on a mix, and every once in a while I would hear a little buzz when I hit a particular frequency. I thought, I've got a bunch of crap up there on top of my interfaces above the console, and I thought, well, maybe it's one of those things buzzing. So I pulled all that down, but I would periodically hear that buzz from time to time. And I couldn't really track down where it was coming from. So I decided, okay, well, let's pull out a tone generator. We'll sweep the frequencies until I hear it buzz, and then I can kind of determine where it's coming from. I pulled all the crap off of there. I swept the frequencies, and somewhere about 160 hertz or so, it started to buzz, and it was coming from the interfaces themselves. At the case of the interface, maybe, I'm not really sure. So these speaker stands, previously all my speaker stands have been freestanding. They've been away from the console table and everything. I'd built these ones that were just, there were some tubes. The tubes were filled with sand, and they were very heavy and very dense, and they didn't vibrate at all. Had a little bit of rubber feet on the bottom and some mats on the top and everything. They work quite well. So on this setup, it's a piece of 3/4 inch plywood. It's actually attached on the back corners, the back side of this, to the console table itself. On the very back side, there are legs that go down from the shelf down to the ground. They're just like some 2x4s or something. I've got all in there. That seemed okay, but it felt like it had a little bit of movement in the front that I didn't really like. So there are these little plastic white discs that set between the interface and the plywood. Now there's hardly any weight on that at all. Like you could take those out and you wouldn't even really notice that they're missing. But I just felt a little bit better with a bunch of speakers and stuff. I didn't want the whole thing to start tilting forward or anything. So that's possibly a source of the vibration is going through that piece of plastic directly into the interface or something. Now I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it, but I'll sweep the frequencies until I hear the buzz. Maybe I'll take this lav mic over and you can actually hear the buzz directly. Then we'll put these foam pads underneath the Kali monitors. We'll play that frequency back and see if we've stopped the buzz at all. That would be a use case for this in a situation such as mine. So let's try it. So we'll start at like 316 hertz and we'll just sweep down. And I'll tell you when I hear the buzz, just in case you can't hear it. So there's actually a little buzz there. There it is, right there at 161. Stop, you. All right, enough of that nonsense. If you can hear the buzz, awesome. If not, trust me. Actually, I'll sweep the rest of it and let's see if there's any more. There's one there, 120. So these actually... So it does vibrate a bit here and there, and I am getting some buzz on some of the lower frequencies. So let's throw the foam under and see what happens. Okay, the foam is under both speakers. It doesn't look like you can see the far speaker, the right speaker, but trust me, it's there. You can see it here, proof. Okay, let's play 161 hertz back and see if we still have a buzz. We still have a buzz. There's one there. Okay, so the foam actually didn't help in this situation. Okay, I thought all of that was really interesting. My previous tests, as I had mentioned, I had set this up, I had tested the frequency coming out of the speakers in the room, and then I put the foam between it, and I came up with nothing conclusive. The graphs looked identical. I didn't hear any difference, whatever. So I built my box of worst case scenario with the styrofoam and everything. We can demonstrate that it amplifies some frequencies, that they resonate really well with that box using the headphone thing. We put the speaker, we did the test, we put the speaker on it, we did a measurement, we put the foam between the speaker and the box of worst case scenarios, and it didn't really change it all that much. We put 2 pieces of foam, it didn't change it all that much. The one significant change was when we put, for some reason, when we put the moving blanket between the monitor and the box of worst case scenario, it actually amplified speak. So it actually made a worser case scenario. Maybe I should have put the blanket on the worst case scenario with the foam in between it. Maybe I should have done that, but too late now. I'm not going to go back and do this. So I thought that the foam was going to solve the problem of my little buzz up here, but it didn't do anything. Maybe changed a couple of them that the vibration was coming through directly, but I think that buzz is not coming through directly through, like it's not going through the monitor case and then the plywood and then that little plastic disc and then vibrating whatever metal is vibrating in my interfaces. I don't think that's what, I think it's just that sound in general. If I were to hold that monitor, completely decouple it with meat, hold it over the same location, I think we would still get that buzz. So if that's the case, if you've got something that is acting as a sounding board and something that's resonating, it's going to resonate whether the speaker box touches it or not. So I'm going back to, I was kind of on the fence of are these isolation foamy pads snake oil or not? And I was kind of on the fence of, but they probably do some good. I'm kind of leaning towards their snake oil. I'm not seeing it. Now, my room isn't the best. My tests aren't the best. If there's an acoustician out there who has some way to test these a little bit more scientifically and conclusively, I'd love to see them. Or if someone who's watching this has some sort of evidence that, yeah, they actually do what they claim to do, they decouple the two and there's a benefit there, I'd love to see it. But I'm not able to produce that effect with the handful of tests that I've done. So are they worth getting? Maybe. Because the one positive thing about these foam pads is that the ones that I've got and a lot of the ones that you can buy, they come in a two-part. So they're two foam wedges, and sitting together in one way you have a perfectly horizontal surface. If you take the top foam off, it tilts the monitor down a degree or two. And then if you take the other piece and you flip it around and you put it in, it'll tilt the monitor down even a little bit more. So if your speakers are a little bit higher and you want them to fire right at your ear holes, then you can adjust the tilt with the foam. So that's a benefit. I can see that. Ideally, you probably want them sitting horizontal, so you should adjust your shelving and do all that. In my case, my speakers sit a little bit higher, so I just bought an extension for my chair so I sit higher. That's how I fixed my problem. But if you need to tilt them down, your monitors down or whatever, they're probably good for that. Are they decoupling? I'm not seeing it. I think they're snake oil. So that's the end of my video. Leave a comment and tell me what you think. Snake oil, not snake oil? Do you see a benefit? I'm not seeing a benefit. Anyway, that's it. That was a fun test. I've been wanting to do that for a while, and I'm glad that I could actually produce results on my box of worst case scenarios. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.